Hello, I'm Amy Simpson with Brownfield Ag News. Barb Glenn is the CEO of the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. We'll be talking about priorities for the coming year, but let's first take a look back at 2020 just a little bit. It highlighted challenges, but it also highlighted importance of ag, the food supply chain, and our state ag departments. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for having me. It's a pleasure. The wrap up for 2020 is immense, isn't it? It did bring so many unforeseen challenges to us in the United States, but NASDA was calling out for action. We need resiliency in rural America. And little did we know that in March how true that would become. So I'm just really proud of the responses of our commissioners, secretaries, and directors in the state departments of ag in response to COVID-19. They worked hard and tirelessly with frontline workers, everyone from healthcare into the food and agriculture sector. And I'm really grateful for farmers and ranchers, first and foremost, who brought their products forward. We kept the supply chain for food strong. Notwithstanding, we found some gaps and some new challenges. And so we're leaning into 2021. And the one thing we've learned from 2020, I think, is that it will be absolutely critical that we form new partnerships in 2021 to continue to solve these issues.
And as you mentioned, 2020 helped shape those priorities for 2021. What are some of those priorities for NASDA moving forward?
Well, thanks so much. I think the one thing that we know is that it's invaluable for your State Department of Agriculture to be engaged and to try and identify those unique needs, starting with farmers and ranchers, but moving all the way to fork to consumers who are hungry still today because of the pandemic. So we are here to empower NASDA as our united voice toward policies that will continue to provide that resiliency in rural America. And so job number one in 2021 is our high priority on food systems. And so this has to do first and foremost with keeping our workers safe, but it also has to do with that food distribution, identifying the food, distributing it to the hungry, and assuring that consumers are receiving the sustenance that they need.
And adding off of hunger in the food system, I know infrastructure and transportation will also be important going forward. Talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I leave food systems, of course, providing that food to food banks and to other charitable organizations became just immediate core competency of our members. And they did that in partnerships with everything from private philanthropic organizations to their local hospitals to those farming organizations. So what about infrastructure? That is a very high priority in 2021 because it is involved in food systems first and foremost. We need to support advancing our transportation systems. And most notably, of course, we know we need to enhance broadband and digital connectivity because it's critical to rural communities for the future.
And you mentioned that food system and obviously transportation helps move that along. But then also it involves, like you said, broadband. And I feel like that was highlighted, especially in 2020 and as we move forward too. Why is that so critical for the industry?
Well, broadband is the new electricity. When my mom's farm, when they first got electricity in the mid-30s, it made such a huge difference. Broadband's essential now for all communities, both urban and rural. And so it's essential for healthcare. Telemedicine access has gone up amazingly during COVID-19. It's essential for education. Oh my goodness, all of our kids are learning through broadband access. And then it's essential for agriculture. Typically the new technologies, they all require broadband access. So we look at this as a core component of the holistic approach we need to enhance the viability and sustainability of our rural communities. So it's job number one, and we're really fortunate Congress is leaning into this already. And so we'll be working hard on Capitol Hill on this one.
And another thing Congress will be leaning into is climate. And I know that's one of the big priorities too. How does NASDA's been a proponent of that and talking about why that needs to be a focus? Tell me more about that and why that's so critical.
Well, it is absolutely critical because farmers are the first environmentalists. I think I have a lot of heads nodding as I say that. And weather is our number one risk in farming. It keeps us still farming. And so we know that climate resiliency and the ability to bounce back from the weather disasters that we've had are part of that rural resiliency, really. So NASDA has been very proud to be at the forefront of a focus on new policies that for climate smart ag that will then enhance farmers' ability to preserve their land, soil, water, and air, which is what they've been doing, by the way, for hundreds of years, but we're going to even do it better. We think these climate smart practices are critical. They need to be voluntary and incentive-based in terms of markets. They need to be based on science. And we really need to promote productivity of agriculture through these practices. So we joined and we're very honored to be a part of the Food and Ag Climate Alliance. That was announced publicly in mid-November. We have some great allied organizations who are the founding members. And it's across a range, Amy, of food and agriculture and including forestry. So we are united in our support for driving forward. Let's fix this weather issue. It is climate resiliency. And we know that Capitol Hill is extremely receptive under President Biden's administrations too. So we'll be working with all of those folks.
And that kind of highlights the importance of partnerships you were talking about too.
Absolutely.
And I know trade continues to be a priority too. Why is this and what are the existing or potential new agreements that are top of mind for you?
Well, market development and the ability to sell our products is absolutely critical to every farmer and rancher, and we support growing and enhancing international trade. So we need to continue to drive the Phase 1 China agreement, the Phase 1 Japan agreement. We need to make sure we're enforcing USMCA at this time. And so we look forward to being at the table on all new free trade agreements. NASDA brings a different perspective from our state elected and appointed officials, but we know trade starts in the states, doesn't it? So we're excited to be a part of that priority. That's a continuing one for us.
And then what about workforce development?
Yeah, so workforce development is a top priority for agriculture. I mean, agriculture is reliant on having talented leaders and workers. And so we view this as something that each of our state departments of ag can dive into and already do in terms of enhancing opportunities. So it's on many levels. Number one, ag labor is still one of the most limiting factors for agriculture. We must have this robust ag labor population who are the essence, really, of our food systems. So that's number one, and we work very closely on H2A reform and look forward to that in the future. But secondly, it's just about identifying opportunities for more youthful leaders, young people to come into agriculture and food and identify quality opportunities for jobs. And we need all the smart minds that we can get in food and agriculture. And so we'll continue to drive forward on career and technical education opportunities, working with youth development programs and STEM activities, things of that nature.
And thanks so much for going back over that. I appreciate that.
No problem.
And you and I have talked before about how NASDA and its members are just really uniquely positioned to address these issues. Tell me about that and how that will help in the coming year.
Yes, our members are elected and appointed officials. Yes, we are the government and we're here to serve you, but we work very, very close to our customers from farm to fork. Our members are ambassadors for agriculture as well as co-regulators with the federal government. So they're in very unique positions. I must tell you that many of them are farmers and ranchers themselves. They're veterinarians, they're food system professionals. They've led their ag committees in their state legislature. So we have an amazing strength in terms of expertise, and they bring that to to boots on the ground, to consumers, all the way to farmers. And because they've walked in those shoes, they can identify immediately with all Americans and provide programs that bolster that resiliency that we must have in rural America.
That's great. And if people want to know more about these priorities or NASDA and its members in general, where's a good place to send them for more information?
Well, you should all go to NASDA.org and look for our policy priorities for 2021. I hope you do. And you're also invited to attend the NASDA Winter Policy Conference. Our theme is Together at the Table. And so we want you to be at the table. After all, if we're not all at the table, we're going to be on the menu, aren't we? So please go to NASDA.org. Come to the Winter Policy Conference. It is February 22 to 25. So we look forward to having you.
And anything else you can think of we didn't touch base on you want to make sure is mentioned?
No, I just think, Amy, we need this holistic look at rural America and how we close that gap to urban America. And with a new Congress, a new administration, NASDA is really looking forward to leaning in and forming brand new partnerships and engaging with the public to make all of that happen.